Hi and welcome to Elvenhome, and to this, the first of what turns into, actually, two parts. As I was going on doing the building of the things that you'll see in the video, I suddenly had 20 minutes of, in fact I had more than 20 minutes of video, which has been cut down for the purposes of this video. So this will take us through to the first stage, and you'll see at the end what the garden will begin to look like. And then in the next video I will complete the garden, so by the end of the next video it will be completed. So straight on with the video. There's only one thing I want to say, which is in respect of Simon of Liverton Central. Simon's just about to start building his layout. He's an absolute whiz of electronics. Those of you that already subscribe to his channel will have seen the many things, and light and lit smoke box, sound that he's put into his engines, and he's just starting to begin to build his layout to actually run the trains on. And he's keen to get to the 1000 Club on YouTube, as we all are. And if and when he gets to the 1000 Club, he's going to put 2 engines up for the first person to answer a fairly simple question. So for you double O gauge modelers, if you're not subscribed to Simon at Liverton Central, there'll be a link sort of going up somewhere here. I have no idea which direction I'm pointing in there, to his channel for you to go and subscribe. And you never know, you might win 2 engines. I think one's an 08 and the other is an 060 tank engine, both are DCC. So good luck to Simon in getting to his 1000. And now on with the video, and let's see the garden grow. As you saw in the April update, I put some foam board in to give me a slightly raised area, so that the garden itself, the main part of the garden, is raised up to try and break up the flatness of the board here. So there are now some steps, which you saw in the last video, that take you up to the front of the house. The house sits about here. There's some stone walling, which I've also mentioned that I was going to get, which provides a gate either side, and the area around the house is going to have some kind of gravelly effect, with a path that goes right the way down the back, almost to the end, but just where the gate comes in at the back of the fence, there's a lower area where there's going to be a greenhouse, and I'll show you the greenhouse kit shortly that I've bought from PD Models yet again. The vicar's shed, where his model railway is in this corner at a slight angle, and I may put some trees in front of that, not too sure. I need to see what it looks like once it's all on top of the layout. There's going to be some flowers on either side of what will be a pond, so he'll have a little pond for his garden, which should be quite sweet. And I have in mind to have some little apple trees either side to break up the front area. So the card itself has been marked up in that way, and indeed, as you can see, the pond has been cut into it. This has been stuck down for quite a while now. I wanted to give this really good time to bond, and there's lots of glue underneath, because when I start putting scenic material on top, remembering my misadventure with this stuff before when I only had one side of it sealed, I don't want this thing curling up, so that's really stuck down firmly. That's not going anywhere. And you can see now that the house sits here. The path goes down, which is going to be a crazy paving path. I checked to make sure that crazy paving wasn't a modern invention. I'm pleased to see that it was invented by the Romans, so that's okay. And here I was originally, I think, going to have the bushes at an angle, but I'm not sure I'll do that now. But these will be rose beds here, and then the driveway running through here with probably some lawn, maybe some bushes, and possibly, and this to be filled in with earth and some stuff to go there too. So what I'll do next, I think, is just very quickly show you the greenhouse kit before getting on to the various scenic material that I've bought for flowers and the bushes. Okay, well, just a very quick look at the greenhouse. I think there's quite a few of them out here. This is a brass etched kit from PD Models, which you get 3 greenhouses actually for your money. So no doubt other places will end up with a greenhouse around somewhere. Folds obviously very easy. I did actually make use of a kit or a tool which he also sells. I bought this quite a while ago, which is really rather useful because it allows you to position whatever you're working on in different ways, and then using the flip and fold, you just fold it and obviously bend it to shape, which is rather good. And there is a video on his website, if I remember rightly, him showing you how to use this. But I found that particularly useful because I haven't done that much in the way of brass kits. But I might do a few more, or etched brass, not so much brass kits, because that's a whole different ballgame. It folded together very well, all went together nicely. I primed it with acrylic primer and then painted it. Actually, I think it's roof carriage off white, because I didn't want too much of a bright white colour, which needs to be dulled down, so that looks okay. And the glazing that's in there is simply offcuts from Metcalfe kits. As you know, I keep everything from Metcalfe kits. And I put the roof part in first as a single piece scored down the middle to get that in the right position. Then did each end piece because that needs shaping as well. And then the final pieces are very straightforward because they're really just rectangles to fit into the space that's left. So that's the greenhouse made for the garden. Not sure yet about the vegetable patches and stuff that will go with and around the greenhouse. Still thinking how I'm going to do that, and that may be the last bit of the garden that gets done. There are kits that you can get, but I'm not sure I particularly like them, but we'll see. Anyway, the next thing I think is to get on to show you some of the flowers that we need to do, or that I've bought, and various bushes, which we'll get on to now. In this short section, I just want to show you some of the materials that I've bought to help make up the garden for the vicarage. In the previous section, I showed you the general plan, and these I've got a couple of kits which I didn't realise were kits. I thought they were all painted up, but they're not. But not that it matters. I bought all this stuff through Model Scenery Supplies, which for Engage has a really good selection of stuff. The first thing to show you here is some hydrangeas. I think there's 12 hydrangea bushes, and they just look beautiful. Aren't they lovely little things? So I know precisely where they're going to go in the garden. I've got some general flower bushes, which also look rather nice, and they'll be quite useful. They may not all go in the vicar's garden. There could be other places where these could usefully be used, but we'll see once we actually come to put plants in. I've got some trees, which I've now put, there we are. These are some little, they're apple saplings, but of course at Engage they pretty much come out as full-size trees. And I think there's going to be, as you'll have seen from the plan, there'll be 6 of these, but once I get them on the layout, I'll have a better idea whether that works. I think they will. They look fine to me. So that will be pretty good. And the 2 things that I thought were actually all fully painted up, one of them is, but is a kit of parts, which I'll show you in just a moment, and that's what you can pretty much see in front of you. And that's the dahlias. There's 120 dahlias in this kit. But the dahlias come, if I can show you a sprue that I haven't cut off. The dahlias all come on a sprue, and you can see here the sprue, and you can see that what you have is the stem and the leaves in green. These little green things are to allow you to attach a number of dahlias to provide you with a group of flowers. And by the looks of things, there's 12 stems there, so it's presumably 6 stems to each one of these things. and then you can stick that onto that, and then what I would probably do is put earth around them, I think. Probably paint that brown first before I do it, but we'll see. But what you then have to do, which I've started doing here, is stick the stems onto the flower heads, which come here. And as you, if I bring these into shot, as you may see, there are 5 colours. This purple is particularly fetching, and I don't know if you can see here, that yes you can. The first 2 I've stuck in. Now that has to be done with tweezers. There's no other way to do it really. I'm using Plastic World, and I hadn't used it for a long time, and I one little tip if you're using it for the first time. The way to use Plastic World is to put the 2 pieces of plastic that you want to stick together into the position you want them, and then brush the world over them, because it evaporates so fast that if you stick the Plastic World on something, by the time you've paired it to where you want it to stick, it's evaporated. But for this, it's absolutely perfect. So the tweezers put the top of the stem into the hole, a quick wipe with a very small brush, and it's stuck, and it's really quite straightforward. So I shall be carrying on doing those, all 120 of them, over the next few days, I suspect, because it'd drive you nuts trying to do them all in one go. But I've got another 10 to do because I've cut them off the sprue. So we'll do those. I'll do those and then take a break. And the final packet that I've got, which are again Busch, is roses. 120 roses kit. And this is also, I thought would be painted up, but isn't. And this generally is totally unpainted, because here, if I show you in the sprue, just put that behind so you can see that you've got your little roses with the heads on, and what you need to do then is decide what colour roses you want them to be. And similarly, you've got 12 on each sprue and 2 of these bases, so you can put a rose bush, I suppose, together. And I'll make my mind up how I do those. I think I probably will put the bushes and again set them in place, and then build some of that scenic earth around them, painting these brown so that they appear to come out through the earth. I think that will work quite well. So I've got quite a bit of painting to do. Probably only 4 basic colours, I think. Certainly red and yellow, probably a pink, and probably an orange. I think that will probably do. That will probably look okay, but I'll have to make my mind up about that. So that's the basics of the flowers and bushes and things that are going to go into the garden. The one thing I haven't quite settled my mind on is the what will be around the vegetable patch, in addition to the greenhouse, which I think I've already shown you. Yes, I've already shown you both what it comes like as a kit and what it's like when it's folded up. But that's this section, and I'll talk to you again in a minute once we move on to the next section. Well, here you see the completed dahlias. I put a 5-penny piece in just to show you, to give you an idea of scale. I've enjoyed making these, actually, all said and done, and I think they will adorn either side of the pond very well. So the next thing is to turn my mind to the roses, and so without further ado we'll move on to doing those. I just wanted to show you how I go about putting the flowers into the bases. Rather handily, I have a pair of tweezers here, which are obviously reverse tweezers, so that you have to put pressure on them to open the jaws, and you'll see in there one of the bases held firm. That's just set, and I put on the table, prop the end up of the tweezers to make sure it sits flat on the table. If there's a gap between the bottom of the base and the table, which as you put the flowers in, you'll put them in too far, and then you'll have bits sticking out the bottom, which is a bit of a pain. The next thing, which is quite tricky, is to pick one of the flowers up. There we go. You'll need fine pointed tweezers for this. I may change to another pair that I've got, because these may, in fact, I will change to another pair I've got, because those are quite big and bulky, and this is quite fine work. This is what I used yesterday, and I found I had to hold them at quite an acute angle, so that when you're putting in, you're pushing it down. And I'm going to try and do this round the camera so that you can actually see what I'm doing. Now, hopefully this will work. Get the flower into the base and touching one of the sides. And then a little bit of plastic weld. And all being well, we have a flower in a base. I don't know if you can see that. Let me just take you in a bit. Gently. Sorry for bouncing you around. Whee. What I'm going to do is I'll carry on and do the other 5, but I'll speed the film up at this point because I found it took me about 15 minutes to do this, because as you start putting more in, it gets trickier to do, and they have a nasty habit also of knocking other ones out. So we'll see how long this takes me to do this time round, and I'll be back with you when I'm finished. Okay, well, as you'll see, I think we have our first little rose bush. I'll come in again, maybe back. Oops, sorry about that. I'm going over a bumpy road. There we go. I think that's about as much as I can go in. Right at the end, once you'll see a number of times, if you're not careful, the brush will stick to the flower and pull it back out again, which it did a couple of times with me. Right at the end, I put some plastic weld on the bottom to allow it to go up by capillary reaction between the individual stems, and that seems to give a good final bind. But there is the first of my rose bushes, which will be adorning the front of the vicar's garden. I've only got another 20, I think, to do, but never mind. It will look good. It will look good. I'm quite pleased with how they've come out. I don't know if you can see, those are my little pink roses, which are really quite sweet. I've got some orange roses, and then primary red, yellow, and white. So we'll see where we go from there. When I come back, I'll have completed all of this. I won't make you sit through watching any more of those. So here we are, we've got all 20 rose bushes completed. I've put a 5-penny piece in again just to give you help with the idea of scale. In the end, I also decided to buy myself some new smaller tweezers, especially reverse tweezers, because these bases are slightly smaller than the dahlias, and I found it was quite deep in the other reverse tweezers which I had, which I put them into shot. You'll see the difference if I do this. There we go. So that helped quite a bit to be able to get things in, and also a pair of quite fine pointed angled tweezers, because the more you do of this, particularly if you do several bushes at once, your hands get quite hard trying to hold at an angle and press down on the tweezers. So there we go. The dahlias are quite a bit bigger than the roses. I'm not sure that's necessarily true of life, but there you go. And you might almost think that the dahlia was 00 scale, but it's quite absolutely definitely N scale in the packet and all the packaging. So, but I think they will look fine next to the pond. So the next thing for us to do is to actually get all this onto the layout. So let's go and have a look at the layout with this all sort of laid out where it's going to be. Well, you're seeing this not very long after I saw it for the first time. Now that I've started to put a few things up just to see what it looks like. This video has already run on much longer than I expected, and I'll make it into a two-parter. but I did promise in the last section that you'd see what it looked like with things on the layout. I'm not going to go into too much detail here because I still want one or two surprises for you about how things look, but you can see the roses sitting where they will be. They'll be sat in some earth, and there are the dahlias already around the where the pond will be, with the greenhouse sitting behind. The little apple trees are here with some hydrangeas behind. You'll see those in the next video. And the main thing now is to get on and do the second part of the build and get the scenic grass down, which will be the bulk of the next video. So I hope you've enjoyed this so far. I think this garden is coming together. It's as I envisaged it would be. Please do like the video if you've liked what you've seen, and share it if you feel like sharing it. They're all very helpful for getting the video and the channel seen. If you haven't subscribed before, please do subscribe. I'm very grateful to all of those of you who've subscribed to me recently. At the time of recording this, I'm just a tad short of 800 subscribers, which is extraordinary. I think about 3 or 4 away from there, which I never imagined when I started that I'd get anywhere near there. So it's great to have you along, those who have already subscribed and those of you who are about to. So I'll get on and actually get all this stuff properly built in, and I'll see you again in the next video. But until I do, bye-bye.